just to give you a little input, some of what you're going to hear from me is different than what you've heard from other people. As you can tell, the name of Sullivan, I'm certainly not Ukrainian. The key point of this is for people to understand what really is happening in country. I've been going to Ukraine since 2014, starting businesses. When the full-scale invasion happened in 2022, I've been 11 different times. The last time I just got back 3 weeks ago. I leave again in March. So I have an insight on this that most people don't have. Katerina, of course, does, and so did Nastya. I invite all of you to ask me questions now or afterwards. Any Americans that you know that have questions on Ukraine about 2014 or what's going on now, have them ask me. I know the answers, I lived it. One of the other things I want to say is this is not a political rally. This is not Democrat versus Republican. Years ago, and I'm old enough to remember this, Khrushchev made a comment, we will bury you from within by dividing our country. My country believed in being the land of the free and the home of the brave and the leaders of the free world. Whether we're that anymore, I doubt. However, Ukraine, the countries whose national anthem says, we will give our bodies and soul for freedom, is. In my heart, even though my nationality is American, I was recently told by Ukrainians in Ukraine, you're a Ukrainian in heart, and that was probably my proudest moment. I want Katerina to say something here. Unfortunately, when I go to Ukraine, everyone wants to speak English, so I don't get to learn Ukrainian. I want Katerina to say to the Ukrainian people here pretty much what I said about talking to me or asking questions. There's a frustrating thing that I've seen in the United States right now from people of Ukrainian descent or of descent from other Russian-speaking areas. I'm a historian about Ukrainian culture. I understand that the maniacal midget Putin's viewpoint of history was written by Gazelle in the 1600s and was a book called Synopsis. It was never a historic book. It's why it's not correct. I understand in the 1800s how during the Russian Empire, it was forbidden to speak Ukrainian. It was forbidden to publish in Ukrainian. It was forbidden to do plays in Ukrainian. As we went forward in history, this continually happened. Because the one thing Russia knows how to do besides lie is that if you control a country's language, you control their culture and you control them. As we went forward in history, we lived through a time frame called World War II. There's a famous US author, his name is John Steinbeck, who traveled to Moscow and to Kiev directly after World War II in 1946. When he went to Moscow, what he saw was Russians walking around, as Russians do, depressed all the time. And he goes to Kiev and he said, Kreshadek is bombed out, as we all know. The entire country is bombed, but the people are happy. The people are smiling. And he said something interesting. He said the language was so different. He also said, these are not the same people, and you are not the same as Russians. The reason I bring up the Russian language is a lot of people, especially from 47 forward, as we know, if you spoke Ukrainian, you were from a village, you were a peasant, you were looked down upon, you were a second-class citizen. It happened to almost all of you. At this point in time, Ukraine is taking back its history. It's taking back its proud history of Kiev Rus and of the language. So I have a challenge to everyone. I have been to stupid clubs like Club 111 in Boca that speaks Russian. If you're a Ukrainian or you're a Ukrainian supporter, if you speak the Russian language and have the ability to speak another language, because I do understand some people only speak Russian. If you have the ability to speak another language and you speak Russian, you are doing a disservice to the country and the history of Ukraine. You are doing a disservice to 6 to 8 million people that were starved by Stalin. You are doing a disservice to people that are dying every single day for the history of Ukraine and for the people. Think about that. So please regain your culture, regain your language. Do not speak the barbaric language of Russia. There is nothing that Russians can ever be proud about. The last thing I want to say is what I have experienced. I've been to Bucha and Irpin. As I said, I've been there 11 times. New Year's Eve was a lot of fun this year. There's no way to describe how bad it is. The people are frustrated. Ukrainians are Ukrainians. The answer to everything is no problem. But now they feel a problem. People are dying every day. We have a small display out here of the flags. In March of 2022, when I was at Maidan, there were 6 flags. Now there are thousands. Each one represents a dead soldier. When I go by there, I see little kids crying because they've lost parents. Yet I see in this country, people go to the clubs and party and enjoy themselves and speak Russian, and it sickens me. In 2013, we had a thing at Maidan. The protesters at Maidan, when they were attacked by the police, yelled at the police, "Shame." To any Ukrainian right now who does not think about what's happening in that country, what's happening to your kids, what's happening to the women, not just in Bucha and Irpin, it is every single day. I've seen the reports. Women are being raped every single day in front of their children. Then the children are raped. That is who Russians are. They did it in World War II to the Germans. They are doing it to you today. Do not allow it. Do not allow Russian to be spoken around you, because if you do, you're doing a disservice to your country. I have one story that I wasn't sure I was going to say because I was afraid of how many kids would be here. I talked to a soldier, and they were down in Kherson. They were cleaning an apartment, making sure there were no Russians there, or catsaps as we know them. He went into a room, and he looked over to the right, and there was a 7-year-old girl in bed. She had 7 slash marks across her body. When he looked closer, he found out she had been raped. The next day, they found out she had been raped by 13 Russian soldiers. This cannot continue. There is no if, and, or buts on this. I go back over there, and it's out of my own money. I do not raise money from anyone. It is because the country that I believe in, that believes in freedom, democracy, individual freedoms, not collectivism like the Russians, is Ukraine. To Ukrainians, every single life, even animals, are important. To Russians, no one cares. They're part of a collective. That is your difference. You are not the same people. Your language, as you know, is not the same. It is no more similar than English is to Dutch. So when we hear these stories, we have to fight them. We have to let people understand what the truth is. Because Americans, and I can say this, you're a Ukrainian, you can't. Americans are not very educated. They don't know the history. They don't know how long this goes back. They don't understand Kiev Rus existed almost 9 centuries before the word Russia was ever used. And we have to educate them. Anytime you run across these people, send them to me. I enjoy every moment of it. The last thing I want to do is, if you'll hold this shirt for a second. This is what I feel. I challenge any Russian, anywhere, including the maniacal midget, Vladimir Putin, and anybody, Navalny, or anybody he wants to kill, I don't care. I'm 67 years old. Come at me. Because Ukrainians And Ukrainian men are men. Russians are candy-assed bullies. The last thing I'm going to do, I've been told I can't do. And I don't listen well. So I'm going to stand by the water. And I have a flag. I've been told I cannot do this. Does anybody know how to work it? Yeah, it's a Russian flag. It doesn't like to burn. Actually, it's a Russian flag. It doesn't do much at all. It's kind of useless. Here we go. Now, any Russian supporter, my name is John Sullivan. This is what I think of your bullshit country. Come after me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.